Hi there, this is Carlos Del Junco at harmonicapractice.com, and I'm here to continue the series of videos about transcribing to memory. And this part is video number 4. I've actually decided to break the actual transcribing part into 2 videos, number 4 and 5. And number 4, we're going to just show about how to sequentially go through each little riff, like you would on any solo, and how to sort of think about going through that and how to do it well. And then in the last part and final part, we're going to talk about actually gluing it together and committing it to memory without writing anything down. And you're not allowed to, you'll be amazed at how easy it is. So here we are at the beginning of this solo with Paul Delay playing a really soulful, fantastic solo. And it starts off here. So you can see I've put a little pickup there, so that's where he actually starts playing, but just before the downbeat of where the guitar player plays the downbeat at the beginning of the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have it at about 75% as a starting point. It's a really good idea to sort of count with your foot, maybe initially count with time, just to sort of get yourself established in the groove before you even start practicing. It just helps to sort of ground you and figure out where things are and what he's playing. So, so what's that first note? Da, da. So always sing the first note is the first thing you got to do. Ba, ba, da, da. You know, this is probably the octave higher. He's playing, by the way, he's playing a third position solo on an A harmonica, and I'm using for this solo. Again, these are great harps out of the box, marine band crossovers for the money. They're totally worth it. They're a little bit like a custom harp. I mean, someone's taken the time to really do some good offset of the reed, so they actually pretty much play a nice compromise between playing hard blues stuff and being the ability to overblow with some facility. And once you know how to do that, there's no overblows in this solo. But anyway, great harps. So here's the first note. Da, da. So you're going to sing it. Da, da. So he's mostly pretty much a tongue block player. I might embellish or do a little bit of both, depending on what I think and what I'm used to. I'm not as comfortable and natural a tongue blocker in all aspects of harp playing, but I'll make this sound as good as I can here. So, da, 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 or da, 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 depending on how you can sing, what's comfortable for you in your octave. You know, try to use your falsetto voice, but basically internalizing the sense of this pitch will really help to navigate where you are. Ba, 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 ba. So I know I'm in third position, and that sounds like the root note to me, the key of the song. So that's the first one. And then he does a little right into a bend there. And now you're listening to, by slowing it down, you're really hearing also how he's doing his vibrato. And so you want to try to get that. Oops. And then it goes up to the 7 draw. And we continue listening. A bit of a pause. And then I wrote here, above, right up here, he takes a big breath here. So back to the root. And then with a slap on blow 4. Easy. So here we are on bar 1 of just after the 4 chord. I'm singing it an octave lower because it's hard to sing. Let's slow it down because that's a bit of a tricky riff. And so if you're in doubt about hearing a particular riff, again, 2 things. You slow it down, you listen to less. So you press the space bar and stop the space bar to hear what you need to hear. So I've just slowed it down to 70%. It's on the beat with a marker. I could start right there if I wanted, but this gives me context, starting on the measure marker. Right on the downbeat of the guitar. Da, 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 da. So I'm just playing those first 3. It's just all inhale. Now I got it. And then and the little glissando up to that little note up here. And you can add markers as you need to. So like I can actually better, for when we get into sort of trickier sections, zoom in. Remember Command F on a Mac and Control F on a PC. And it just helps it. I would, when you're zooming in, the less distractions, I would turn off the scrolling feature. Again, this is the scrolling feature. It just means that once the cursor gets past the passed away mark of your audio view, the audio starts moving. But when you're zoomed in, you actually want to turn that off because it just becomes distracting. You're focused on these 2 bars, so turn it off, and then the spectrum won't move. So here we are, working on this riff. We're going to add another marker just to break it down. I'll slow it down. I'm going to put one right there, right about here, I think. The top of that riff. Sounds pretty good. I can see that it's probably correct. Yep. Da, 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 da. So I might want to break this up into a few chunks because it might be difficult for some of you to hear it. But the cool thing about Transcribe with, if you just put in more markers, it makes it way easier. The important thing is to chunk things down into bite-sized pieces. Less is easier in the beginning, especially when you're a beginner transcriber. But it's not hard, especially if you take the time to sing first what you hear, sing along with the audio, and then create markers as you need to. So let's listen. Da, da. Da, 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 da. I think that's a good place right there. So let's listen. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. So I'm going to let you in on part of my secret about transcribing the memory is that actually when you have a bigger chunk of information, you treat it as a micro solo, and once you break it down into little chunks like I have, and we've been working on each little one sequentially, then to glue that little phrase together, you start with the last part of the phrase. Ba, ba, da, da, da. Little glissando. And then you work backwards. And I'm going to explain in detail with a diagram, a little sort of drawing on the computer screen of why it works so well. And working backwards like this and committing stuff to memory. But here. And I repeat it a few times once I know that I have it. Let's put it in context of the measure, because it gives it more musical context to start on the beat again. Ba, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to speed it up now that we've got this, because it's just too slow for me to think. Now, I wouldn't have broken that down myself into all these chunks, but for some of you more beginner players, it's something essential that you should learn how to do and become comfortable with. And it's not hard, and it just makes it easier to play these kind of trickier riffs. And that's pretty much it. Anyway, so I would continue this way to the end of the solo. That's essentially how I'm chunking this down. I'm going to end this video here because I think you get the idea of how to work, whether it's a simple couple of riffs, a couple of notes, or a slightly more complicated riff like this one. And then once you got it, you just gradually speed it up. So we're at 70%. You listen to it first just to internalize the tempo. And then speed it up again in increments of 10%. And then up to 100%. And I'm singing along with it again to really internalize. To really internalize, to try to get his phrasing, to the nuance of his phrasings. If you listen, and actually, if I was doing this and I was a more beginner player, I wouldn't speed it up chunk by chunk. I would wait until I'm glued the whole solo together. And once I could play the whole solo, I would gradually speed it up. All right, I'm going to see you in video number 5. And in the beginning of the video, I'm going to get into why this method of working backwards through the solo. We're actually glue the solo together backwards. I'm letting you in on the big secret, as I already did. And why it works so well, rather than starting from the beginning of the 12-verse solo and working towards the end, why it makes it so much easier to commit to memory this way. You really don't have to write anything down, and you'll see. All right, see you in video number 5. This is Carlos Del Junco at harmonicapractice.com. See you shortly.